Welcome to another video of the Targeted Individual Program, the Targeted Individual Experience. I want to continue where I left off on my previous video, um, talking about the hidden evil, and I was reading Tactics 1. So I'm going to continue. I left off talking about NLP, a stimulus which is linked to triggers by physiological state is called an anchor in NLP, state Joseph O'Connor and John Seymour in their book Introducing NLP. They explain anchors can be set in a single instance if the emotion is strong and the timing is right. Okay, so we're unconsciously creating anchors in our environment all the time with people, music, places, and objects. The conditioning technique used by this global stalking network were obviously designed by people knowledgeable in the behavioral science. These civilian swarmers are used to create negative emotional states in targeted people, such as fear and anxiety, and anchor them to common objects. This is the deliberate creation of a phobia. So let me give you an example of this, right? So uh, early on in my targeting, whenever I get up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom, I would hear police sirens. And when I would hear the police sirens is when I take my penis out to take a pee, all of a sudden police sirens were going off, right? So it was like whoop 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 whoop, right? And this is every time I go to use the bathroom. Even at work, the same thing. When I go to use the bathroom at work, take a piss, same thing would happen. Then people started pinching their nose when they see me. And I've shown videos of this. So, Mr. Trigger Warning. So they would see me and then they would do this. They'll keep pinching their nose. Or they'll take their index, their pointing finger, and they'll do this whenever they see me when they pass by. And so I remember, well, also, so after they started doing that, civilian perpetrators, then I would see people wearing masks, right? Surgical mask, or um, um, it's not breathing mask, but it's well, I guess it's breathing mask. They would wear it on their face, walk in the street, towards me in my presence, right? And so, at that time, I kind of knew a little more about NLP, and I realized that they were trying to create a phobia, and my way of combating that was sometimes I'll go use the bathroom even when I didn't want to use the bathroom, and I remember keep saying in my mind, "Oh, you want to see me take a piss? Okay, fine." And I would go use the bathroom just because. So, as TIs, we have to be careful, especially those who are who are new targets, to understand that when they do this to you, there is a strong possibility that your mindset will be on a what's the word I'm looking for? But be careful how you fight back, okay? Because your mindset can go numbers of ways, right? And and I remember, um, you know, at one point I was like, maybe I should become an exhibitionist since they want to spy on me, maybe I should do that. Because even when having sex, the same thing would happen. Me and Pam were together for 11 years, and every time we had sex, there was police sirens going off. Then the next day, the civilian perpetrators would start pinching their nose. They would do this, okay. And even yesterday, um, where was I? I think I was coming out of the store, and this young lady stood up in front of the door with her back turned, and she had her cell phone in her hands, and she had the camera app open. And as I opened the door to get out, she lifted up the phone so I could see, right, that she had the camera app open up, and then there was a man next to her doing this, right? So this is what these people do and try to create phobias. You know, maybe they're trying to say that I got a camera up my nose, which is bullshit. You know, again, to take away, to get you to believe that, and started blurring that stuff out in public, making you look crazy, right? But we know that it's the microchip for the purpose of remote neuron monitoring, and we know enough about the technology to understand that with this technology, they can do remote viewing. So no, you don't have a camera in your nose if they're trying to make you believe that. Okay, what they're doing because of the microchip, they're able to, through the um, what's the word I'm looking for? Uh, to from the deciphering of the brainwave signals, right? Because they understand every part of the brain. They understand which signal represents a thought, uh, you know, um, a color, uh, objects. So they understand this because they have mapped the human brain, right? They have done this, since the 90s, which they're not going to tell you. But if you look at the brain mapping initiative, the CIA, the Department of Defense had already did that. Okay, so look up remote neural monitoring. Um, and you guys will get a good idea of what I'm talking about. So when they try to create these phobias, again, it is to make you look crazy or make you look like you have a mental illness. So when you start talking about this stuff, again, it takes away the real reason, right? Or the technology that's being used, which is your microchip. You have a microchip in your brain, and that chip is able to send and receive signals, okay, wirelessly, and also that chip is also decode the brainwave signal in your brain. Now, I did show a video of a quadriplegic in which they claim that his eye movement is able to, the computer is able to read his eye movement and tell exactly what he's thinking. Now, let's think about that for a minute, right? They want to make you believe just by looking at a monitor that the computer monitor is able, through um, the interpretation of your eye movement, that it can interpret words. Okay, I mean, come on, seriously. So if you look at the video, you look at the quadriplegic, his eyes are not moving rapidly. There are times he's looking directly away from the screen, but he is still, the computer is still able to read his thoughts. Okay, again, think about that. So we're talking about these technologies being used and how they're trying to cover it up, how they're trying to make uh, the victims of these non-consensual experimentation look and sound crazy. Okay, and they've done a very good job of it. But there's enough information out there. There's enough testimony from TIs such as myself and others who have a better understanding at this point of what is being done to them and what was done to them. Okay, not also the psychological aspect of it, but also the technological aspect of it. Okay, So, organizations known to have researched NLP include Military Intelligence Agency, CIA, FBI, and state bureaus of investigation. In the structured chapter, I'll provide evidence that Dr. John B. Alexander and Mrs. Jeanette Morris have contributed to the creation of this program on behalf of the financial elite as part of a political agenda. In their 1992 book, The Warrior's Edge, Dr. Alexander and Morris wrote that some federal government officials were trained in NLP and that the U.S. Army Intelligence and Security Command INSCOM has played a basic role in its dissemination. Anchoring, state Morris and Alexander, is based on the neurophysical, I'm sorry, neurophysiologic, neurophysiological assumption. You have to excuse me, man. Okay, assumption that patterns of behavior can be installed. Key here, right? Anchoring, stated Morris and Alexander, hopefully I read the word right, is based on the neurophysiological assumption, yeah me, that patterns of behavior can be installed, then reactivated whenever a similar situation is encountered or created. Remember, uh, the similar situation is always going to be created if you are a targeted individual. You will never encounter something that wasn't set up, that wasn't created. Okay? Knowing this, you can intentionally install anchors to return your targets to specific emotional states. There have been some concern in the mental health field over the potential misuse of NLP. Unfortunately, like other tools, they can be misused in the wrong hand. Steve Andreas and Charles Faulkner warn of the possible uses and misuses of this technology in their 1996 book, NLP, The New Technology of Achievement. O'Connor and Seymour similarly caution that these stimuli can be misused to trigger very potent negative emotional states. This is the realm of phobias. Put simply, NLP is being used to inflict emotional injuries. The deliberate infliction of emotional pain is an act of violence. The use of NLP in this manner is similar to a physical attack, such as a punch or kick. It only leaves no visible injuries. Targets are constantly monitored, said McKinney, and if a target responds emotionally to a particular trigger, it will be built into the protocol. For instance, the transfer of negative emotion to a color or object. They may have a multitude of citizens wearing the same color or carrying a similar object swarm you, during which time you may be attacked with directed energy and noise. Today I was at the bus stop. Immediately as I got to the bus stop, the targeting campaign began. Not also that the targeting campaign began with the civilian perpetrators, but now you had ambulances, you had police. Okay, got on the bus, the exact same thing. Got off, about to get off the stop. I mean the bus, right? Police car basically drove to where I was sitting on the bus. I made a U-turn so I can see it. Okay, this is the type of stuff that they do. All right. So, targets around the world have reported being sensitized to sounds, gestures, cell phones, laptop, pens, cars, watches, clothing, symbols, colors, and other items. All of this I've talked about. So, also before I came over by Pam, I had to go pick up the car because again, we're still at the mechanic, and I don't know if I told you guys this, but someone went under the hood of the car and unscrewed the bolt that held the locking mechanism to the battery, to the car battery, right? So my brother told me, he's like, someone took it out because I didn't take it out. Okay, so someone took it out. All right, because the car has been at the shop for almost 2 weeks, right? And so, again, why would somebody do this? These people are criminals. They're murderers. Uh, it was earlier this year, right? The car was in the shop to get fixed. After it got fixed, I went on the highway with the kids and Pam, and we almost died. Okay, uh, I remember seeing this guy, you know, right next to the car, and I had to leave. Right, my brother wasn't there, and what happened was that someone loosened the cable for the brakes and the accelerator. So when I was on the highway and I'm stepping on the accelerator, the car wasn't picking up, right? As I pressed the accelerator. What it was doing, it was slowly accelerated. And then when I went to hit the brakes to stop, it wouldn't stop. So I basically had to just throw the car into neutral, let it slow down, and I actually had to, through the momentum as the car was moving, I went up on a curve, right? And then the car eventually stopped, and then I used the handbrakes. Okay, so we almost died, and now they're doing this again, right? Now, what if I hit a pothole and the battery got loose and fell into the other part of the engine, right? And if I was going on a highway and I'm going 50, 60 miles an hour, that could be devastating. So these people are constantly trying to do things to kill us. And as Mark Rich says, as actually in the Coercive Persuasion Program definition, that these people will go through any length to shut the victims up, including murder. Okay, and this is what they try to do. Okay, so this type of attack does require some maintenance and will lose its potency unless it is reinforced. And that's why I said to TIs, once you've been conditioned, they have to, every now and then, they will hit you with a blitz. Okay, it might be a couple of days, maybe even 2 weeks, to see if you're still responding to the stimuli. Right? There are many other attacks which NLP can be used for. This can include a recent traumatizing event which may have been facilitated by the action of this network. And again, recently, me and Pam breaking up, uh, you know, because again, like I knew they were introducing her to guys and stuff like that, especially at her job, and I would tell her, you're telling our business to your coworkers. Your coworkers don't have any good intention, but she doesn't want to believe me, because for her, um, being up in her coworker's space is very important to her, and she will ignore certain things that is said to her or done to her just because she wants to be in their space, right? And I'm sure they're telling her negative things about me, you know, and stuff like that. So, this is how these people operate, right? So, like I said, whenever I go pick her up, she works at what's the hospital in Park Slope, um, Methodist, Methodist Hospital on 6th Avenue and between 7th and 8th. So whenever I go pick up, the nurses there, the security guards, the paramedics, they all target me, and they know that she's coming down because they'll wait until she exits out the building, and then they'll look at her, they'll look at me, they'll look at her, look at me, as to try to make me believe that they, um, that she's compromised and she's working with them to target me and stuff like that, right? So this is what they try to make me believe. Okay. For example, an incident, death of a family member or pet, or some type of brutal assault that has been linked to a trigger. Then shortly afterwards, you may be group stalked by people who project that trigger, which is intended to arouse the emotional pain you suffered during that experience. In NLP, the process of copying an emotional state from an existing trigger to a new trigger is called chaining. Groups will take an object you've been sensitized to and link it to another object. The idea is to keep expanding the amount of objects that you associate fear, anxiety, anger, sadness, or shame with. For instance, one of your neighbor has made it clear that they're attacking you. Now you know they are, and they know you know. So they may be used in an attempt to sensitize you to another stimuli, such as a car alarm. How many times you hear me doing videos and you hear car alarm going off, or police sirens, or helicopters flying overhead? This is all part of this program, okay? Because you already associated them with pain, they can extend their harassment to a sound by turning their car alarm on and off in rapid succession over a short period, multiple times throughout the day. After they've done this for a couple of days, and you have been sensitized to that sound, they can occasionally use it to inflict pain. Even though it is only done a couple of times, you know why they're doing it, and you may feel negative emotion. You may also feel frustrated at the prospect of trying to explain this harassment to another individual because they have not had your experience with that sound and are not aware that it is a small part of a much larger harassment program. It may be difficult to explain that those beeps were attacks. After a person has been sensitized to a color object, the article can become a unification symbol for the group. Much like a uniform, for instance, after a person has been sensitized to the color red, he is surrounded by people wearing red clothes in public. Again, the color red, we know it's a very popular color because you see this all the time in my video. You'll see civilian perpetrators wearing a lot of red. Okay. Furthermore, this is an adaptable uniform because it can be changed almost indefinitely. If a person who realizes that they are being gang stalked has been sensitized to red, then the organizers of this network can simply have them blitzed by a horde of citizens wearing blue clothes. This harassment is now been changed to this color. All right, so I talked about that actually in my previous video where they used the color blue. And you see how I showed you how they did it, right? With the two blue cars in front of me. Then when I got here at fire parking, the two guys come out, one wearing a blue shirt, a blue pants, and a blue do-rag, and the other one came out after him wearing a blue do-rag. Okay? Most likely, these uniforms also help promote group cohesiveness and may foster temporary feelings of power among the civilian stalkers. And again, this is exactly why you'll see a lot of these civilian stalkers when they walk past you, they laugh as if it's funny. They think because they think it's funny, and that's basically what it is. This is a criminal entity, okay? Regardless of what they may say, particularly those within um, uh, in the authoritative position that are doing this, it is a criminal entity masquerading as some sort of uh, you know um, righteousness because of the religious aspect of it, right? So we know, like I said, religious groups use these sort of tactics all the time on their members and non-members. Also, those within the security agencies use this for people who they deem as a threat, for those that they want to get rid of, and those in the state and local police department also use these type of tactics again to those who they feel is a threat, and for those who are challenging their authority, and for those who speak out against the injustice caused by them to other people, okay, such as political activists. um, you know they will do this if they know that you are a strong individual, and they know that you are very familiar with your rights and you assert your rights. They will do this to you. Okay. Okay. So Like I said, sometimes you'll see these civilian stalkers um, laughing, or they do this little smirk, okay, because they think what they're doing is funny, okay, and so this is what they are doing. Now let's talk about swarming or crowding. Space invasion includes blocking or swarming, or what some TIs refers to as crowding. Targets may be encircled by people wearing colors or holding objects that they have been sensitized to. Prolonged crowding can have an extreme negative effect on your mental, emotional health. The people who designed this harassment programs were obviously well aware of this. While some culture may be more immune to crowding than others, even people from parts of the world that have been historically crowded react stressfully to crowding. The body language is more accurate and reliable than verbal communication. Most of this nonverbal communication is unconscious. The study of this language has been called social kinesis. There are two components to it. One contains movement, gestures, postures. The other is spatial relationships. The study of communication using distance space is called proxemics. For most North American, the intended zone is 0 to 18 inches and personal space is 1.5 to 4 feet. This type of communication is used to attack people. For instance, while in stores, restaurants, and public places that are not busy, the target will have people invading their personal space. This happens even if there are only two customers in a store. If a TI makes a move from one place to another, several people may suddenly appear and jump out in front of him or her. Okay, I'm gonna put that in there, from around corners and aisles. Okay, the deliberate space invasion used by these people is designed to look like normal cutoffs and collision, as we all experience from time to time. And I've talked about this before on my talk show program, as well as in my videos. What they would do is that they will walk close uh, in front of you, or they'll walk across from you, very close to you, to where you'll either bump into them, or they bump into you, or to where you're they do it so much to where as they walk close to you, you might tense up, and as you and then make contact, you may throw your shoulder to knock them down, which is something that I used to do until they stop. But I showed you this in my videos on what they do, how they'll cut across to me. They'll wait till I'm close, walking close to them, and then they'll walk right in front of me or right across in front of me. Okay, so they are used in blind areas such as corners, hallway, restroom, or intersection where targets have people or cars cutting them off or hitting them in a calculated manner. This happens in stores, buildings, and on the streets with people and vehicles. With some artificially induced cutoff, the perpetrator is seen at a distance, and the target and the perpetrator are heading towards the same area, which is used to maximize crowding. It may be a corner, a very small walkway, a thin passageway, or an obstruction on the sidewalk, such as a telephone pole or a tree. The stalkers adjust their timing so that they meet the target at the exact point where there is the least amount of space for all to pass, thus maximizing the invasion of the TI space. Apparently, the idea is to get the target attention and to make them uncomfortable. When standing in the checkered line, TIs routinely have citizens standing close behind them, and rather than wait for the target to leave, they may crowd them as they reach to the side or in front of them to put their items on the counter. So let me tell you what happened to me on my way over here. I was on the bus also. So the bus came, and people were in front of me. I was getting ready to get on the bus, and this young woman just cut in front of me. Now I'm using a cane, and people looking at her like, "What's wrong with you?" So I said to her, I said, I said, "You see, I have a cane, right? You just trying to cut me off like that and jump in front of me?" And she proceeded to walk, and this lady next to me, she was like, "Wow." And I said, yeah. I said, well, you know what? That's some black woman for you, you know, because I've experienced where I have things in my hand and they wouldn't even hold the door for me, even open the door for me. And even when I open the door with all these things in my hand, I hold it for them. Okay, but as a TI, and this will happen to anybody. Okay, as a TI, if you're a TI, you'll see this happening to you a lot. Okay, all right. So let's. He's giving examples. I don't want to go through too much of this. Noise campaign. All triggers of the hidden evil are familiar with noise campaign. Basically, the report experienced a steady stream of noise consistent of a rotation of various types of disturbance around their home. This includes door slamming, yelling, car alarms, horns, tire screeching, loud music, engine revving, and frequent construction projects, which include an assortment of noise from heavy machinery and tool. Not surprisingly, in his book Future Wars and Winning the War, Dr. Alexander described using audible noise as a weapon. If you're under attack, there will be door slamming for a few moments. 7 minutes of silence will ensue. Then a motorcycle will drive by and rev its engine outside of your house. After that, you'll hear some mowing the lawn. There will be alarms going off. After you hear a loud crowd of people walk by your house, then you may hear fire or ambulance sirens, which, again, if you look at my videos, you'll understand exactly what I'm reading because this is what they do to me the majority of the time. Saturday, when I was at the mechanic, you know, the previous video I showed the police cars all of a sudden start showing up. There were two fire trucks that was like 2 blocks away. I was recording, and they turned off because again they didn't want me to get them on video. So, this is state sponsored. This is a government program. Like I said, this is government non-consensual human experimentation. Okay, and the use of the psychological program to discredit, to surveil, to get the community to participate in the psychological harassment, and not also psychological harassment, but the poisoning of targeted people, the breaking, the theft of their property, the destruction of their property, the murder of their animals, the murder of their loved ones, to get the TIs to commit suicide. This is what they do, and they've been getting away with this for a very long time. And this is why we, as TIs, have to expose this for what it is, and let people understand what's been happening and what's happened. Because there have been people in the past who have lost their life, whose lives have been destroyed, okay, because of this stuff. Okay. Okay. Let's see what else. Okay. So both McKinney and Moret mentioned that targets are followed around their apartment by the neighbors above them, who stomp loudly while tracking them around their dwelling. See, I experienced that also. I go to my bedroom, they'll drop a ball above. I go to the living room, they'll do the same thing. I go to the kitchen, they'll do the same thing. And I go to the bathroom, do the same thing. One after the next, just to let me know that they can track my movement and to know which uh, room I'm in my apartment. Okay. Helicopters and small propeller planes may frequently pass over your home if you are being attacked. Some of these aircraft may be low enough to vibrate the room you're in. The use of aircraft for this purpose is allegedly very common. Apparently, these overhead noise attacks are used for sleep disruption and to undermine the morale of targeted people. Again, I talked about this. Even on some of the videos, I even talked about helicopters flying overhead as I'm doing the videos. Okay. Okay. So let's see. Synchronization. Attacks will be synchronized with things that TIs do, such as entering and leaving their home. Their movement will be synchronized with vehicles and other people coming or going, or other movements. For instance, when the target arrives, two cars will drive down the street while the next door neighbor leaves. If the target has a habit of looking out the window at a specific area, then they will eventually arrange it so that there is some activity such as a light being switched on or someone appearing in that area. This is an example of the level of detail that they will resort to when tailoring a person harassment protocol. Synchronization is also used with sensitivity and noise attacks. For instance, you'll hear ambulance or fire truck sirens the moment you enter or leave your house. How many times have I talked about this? I've actually shown this. If you go back, way, way back in my videos, where I show when I'm walking on my block and there's fire trucks, with the noise campaign, this happens all the time in the past, very frequently. Now they try to hide it. Now they try to be more creative with the use of the fire trucks uh, to engage in a noise campaign against me. Okay, so now if I leave, what I'll do, I'll hear the fire trucks, and it will be very brief, but I wouldn't see them. Okay, street theater, commonly used routes are used as avenues for various types of street theater that unfold as targets pass through. Street theater is used during group stalking and contains verbal and nonverbal harassment, threats, insults, intimidation, and violence. Convey overtly or covertly using themes, symbolism, or other medium, they may be carried out after a target has been sensitized using NLP. This harassment can be delayed with metaphors, verbal attacks, objects, and symbolism on clothing or other items. Target may be stalked by a network of people who frequently stomp their feet, clear their throat, or cough. So let me give you an example of this, right? I went to pick up the kids. As I exited the building, there's a building adjacent to this one. This guy comes out, he acts as if he's on his phone, and he's like, hello, 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 right? So I just walk by. Another guy wearing a t-shirt come out of his car, and his t-shirt says, now I'm famous, right? Go to pick up my kids, walking back, this woman stops me. She started targeting me, and I know, they do this conversational shit. So she stops me, okay, and she does this right before she stops me, okay? Right before she stops me, she started targeting me. And of course, she wanted to see if I was going to respond. And I did, because I knew exactly what they were doing. So she stops me, and then she did this. Okay? Right? And so she says to me, um, do you live around here? So I said, no. Then she goes, do you know where Lot Street is? No, I don't think there's a Lot Street over here. But they like to throw out these words, and what it is that because Pam calls me today, and she's talking to, first of all, she seemed very friendly, so I knew she wanted something, and I knew she was up to something, because this is what they do. This is the action of a narcissist who participates in gang stalking and harassment, right? So she calls me, and she's talking to me. Then all of a sudden, she's asking me about the car, and I said, "Yeah, I got the car. I picked it up. My brother has to finish installing certain things in it." So I said I drove it on the block, and I parked it on the block, and I said, and then I'll bring it tomorrow. Okay, so there's two things what they may be trying to imply. Okay, one, there was the parking ticket that I showed you guys, in which I pulled up in front of the building. The ticket agent walked across the street, told me I can't park there, and I said, listen, I'm just letting my son out. And because I told him that, he proceeded to write me a ticket, right? So I challenged the ticket. Okay, I sent in pictures and everything. and they, say I got to pay $125, right? So I did not receive the the results, right, until months later, because I was looking for it in the mail to let me know whether they dismissed the ticket or I got to pay for the ticket. So it had been 2 or 3 months before I finally got the ticket from the mail, right? So at that time, during that time, I'm like, wait a minute, let me go check. So when I went online, I checked and I saw, okay, well, they found me guilty, and I got to pay the the money, right? So then when they finally send the results, the bill, it was $145. So I'm a TI, I'm on disability, so I just paid $45, and I said, okay, next time I get my disability, I'll pay the rest, right? So yesterday, and which I'll show you in this video with the ticket agents and stuff like that, they were using ticket agents to target me, right? And then also they do that because what they're trying to insinuate to me is that they're going to just keep giving me tickets, right? For no reason or what have you. Okay, so this is what some of the things that they're trying to do. Okay, so maybe they're like, well, we're gonna tow your car. It's gonna be in the lot. Tow the car. It's gonna, not my car, but tow the car, and it's gonna be in the lot. Or uh, you know, Pam would be driving the car to work, and she just park it in the parking lot. All right. So because it's she's asking me where Lot Street is, and I don't even know if there's a Lot Street around here. To be honest with you, it could be, but I don't know. Okay, and so um, you know, but again, the way how she stops me, because again, this is what they do. She's a civilian perp, so they'll send her to me because when they want to convey some type of message, this is what they'll do. Okay, and they're not smart. They think they're smart, but you guess what? Guess what? Their program is about to be, well, not about to be, their program have been unraveled. Okay, and what we as TIs have to do is gather evidence to prove what it is that they have done to us and they continue to do to us. Okay. All right. So you know what? Here we go. We talk about meta messages. All right. Uh, and this happens. So I'm gonna read this. So it says, stalkers may be speaking on their cell phone and loudly accent the insult as they walk by and stare at a TI. Blatant hostile or smirking stares are also common. Sometimes they may not be on the phone and may just overtly insult you as they walk by. As an example, people have walked by me and said things like "F you," "F up," "F head," "You're disgusting." What was it? Saturday, driving back from the mechanic, um, I was I got the car, but I had to bring it back, and so I got parking. Okay, and I'm driving. I stop. This car come behind me. Okay, I wave to him to go around. He sits there behind me. I waved to him numerous times for him to go around. Finally, this vehicle uh, passed us. Then he goes around, rolled down his window, and he says, "You're sick." Okay, so they do stuff like this, right? Or they'll say, "You're crazy," right? So I've also witnessed them spit in my direction as I walk. They do that to me too. Some words carry with them a particular weight to potentially trigger an aspect of a person's emotional state. For instance, if you're at a restaurant, you may have a couple sit down at a table next to you and mention some events that are taking place in your personal life in order to get your attention. After that, they may say words such as paranoid, crazy, scared, panic, insane, freak, sad, depressed, etc. The idea is that these words will invoke the emotions. Not only is it possible, but it works best when you don't know it's being done to you. These tactics appear to be a variation of a pacing technique used in hypnosis. It involved first linking something to the subject's ongoing experience or personal life, and then using certain words intended to invoke a particular response. Morris and Alexander refer to these words as verbal anchors and state verbal anchors can also be effective tools. Words such as freeze or duck transmit complete messages. Verbal anchors can elicit both positive and negative states. The meaning of the messages can be changed using meta communication, meta messages, or suggestions hidden in a statement, perhaps a compliment. The tone, volume, and rhythm of the specific words in the sentence are changed so that the actual message is different from what the spoken words are. It's hard to defend against the anger and disapproval expressed in negative meta messages, state Matthew McKay and Patrick Fannin in their book Messages, the Communication Skill Book. The attack is often so subtle that you aren't aware of exactly how you've been hurt. These meta messages are quite similar to indirect embedded messages used in hypnosis. In the book Patterns of Hypnosis Technique by Milton H. Erickson, Richard Bandler, and John Greiner provide example of this. They write, embedded command serves the purpose of making suggestions to the client indirectly and thereby making it difficult to resist in any way. These are most effective when they are also marked analogically by emphasizing the command and by looking intently to the listener. It appears a variation of the message can be conveyed by multiple people blitzing a TI while talking on their cell phone. They look directly at the person and emphasize certain words and or information about the TI's personal life that was obtained from surveillance. Groups will be used Groups will also use these phony conversations to harass targets in public spaces. McKinney wrote of reoccurring negative comments by strangers that are intended to evoke feelings of paranoia. Again, something about the target's personal life or real-time ongoing experience is mentioned near him or her, so he or she will defend him or herself as the subject. Then weighted words are used. These covert public attacks are based on NLP hypnosis. Okay? When we hear something, even from another conversation, we can't help but make images and sound of it in our head, announced Andres and Faulkner. The professional persuader knows this intuitively. In NLP, we know it explicitly. The continual use of NLP by these citizen stalkers as directed by their handlers appear to be intended to make the target individual suffer a nervous breakdown. The hidden evil was obviously designed by experts in the behavioral science. After the target has been synthesized, they can even be harassed, insulted, and threatened with symbols using articles of clothing, newspapers, and other items, such as body communication is used to harass a target. So too is symbolic communication. Symbolism can be used with articles of clothing, especially when a TI is blitzed by a crowd of citizens who smile, laugh, stares, and cut them off. Okay? All right. So I'm going to uh, end this right here, and I'm going to go to the video. There's only one video. Okay? But this is important. So yesterday, I had to go to the bank to withdraw some money so I can pay the mechanics. Let me shut off the webcam. My mouth is dry and I don't want to lick my lips to target anybody because, you know, as a TI, these perpetrators, when they walk amongst us or walk towards us, they always stick out their tongue at us. Okay, so as I said, I went to the bank to withdraw some money. I went to the ATM and put my card in, chose the amount of money that I want to take out, and then the machine proceeded to, you know, count the money because I could hear it. And then all of a sudden, it said the machine is out of order. So I could hear the, like I said, I heard the money being counted. So now, but again, this is something that they do. This is an intended thing that they do to get me into the bank, right, for whatever reason. So I go into the bank. Security guard sees me, starts targeting me, pinching his nose, or I think it was pinching his nose. Uh, Maybe he was doing something else, but he started targeting me. Then the bank rep came over to me. I explained to her what was happening. Went to the ATM machine inside the main area of the bank, right? Not in the ATM section, but there are different ATM machines inside the bank. So I explained to her what happened, um, and I told her I had went to another machine to try to take money out, and I couldn't. When I looked at the balance, it said I had a memo credit, right? So I was like, okay, this is, you know, weird because it said I had a memo credit. So when I just she told me to go to the teller, the bank teller, went over there, uh, put my card in the card reader, put in my pin. She looked and she sees that okay, the money has been refunded into my account. Okay, so she told me don't use the machine in the ATM section, use the machine inside the main area of the bank, which I did, and I got the money that I had intended to take out. So right then and there, I knew something was up. That this is something that they were doing. Right. So you'll see as the video starts, I'm walking out the bank. Okay. So you'll see this man standing here. He's wearing a beige shirt, a beige hat. See, as I start walking across the street, you'll see he takes his finger and he, let me put on the webcam so you guys can see. So he takes his finger and he does this. Okay. Okay. Now this guy was waiting at the corner now. Remember, they all work in tandem. So now he sees me, and then we talk about using symbolism, right? Using articles of clothing and stuff like that. So remember how I talk about how they would use sometimes their body, their arms in a position like this to where they make the V shape, right? V shape, right? So they would do that with the body language, right? Also, they would use uh, um, Levi's jeans, right? So sometimes when me and Pam get into an argument, I'll go downstairs and then there'll be somebody standing there. As soon as they see me, they'll turn around and you'll see what happens is that because I've been put through a fixation drill, okay? So you will, so what that will do when they come out, when I come out, the building will have you, they'll turn around and you'll see the Levi's jeans with the V shape on it. So you see here he has the V shape on it, and also yesterday when I was walking, there was a guy wearing a hat and he had a shirt that says "Victory." You know, this stuff. I mean, it should have just ridiculous, but this is what they do, right? And again, that was all conditioning. That was all conditioning. Okay, to make you believe certain things. So now you see he looks up at the window, and now he's going to do the fixation palm drill because you see his arms drop. Let's go back and to the exact point that he does it. So he has his hands on his clothing. Okay. Now he looks over at the building. He's looking at the window. And you see he drops his hand, so the palm of his hand is facing towards me. Okay. Okay. And so now I'm going to tell you guys what's going to happen. They're going to use um, these ticket agents as well as the civilians. You'll see this guy here in this red and white shirt. Watch as I approach the stand up right here. He is now going to go into action, right? You were standing there just looking at the window. Let me go back slightly. Okay. So he sees me walking. He walks over. You see him here in the red and white shirt. He walks over, staring into the window, walks back, looks at me. He's looking at me. Okay. So I'm recording now. You know, he walks back, bows his head. Did you see he gives me the middle finger? Did you see that? Watch. See that? Okay. You see that? All right. Okay. And now you see the woman in front of me now. She's doing the hand behind the head signal. Okay. So, like I said, so she does the hand behind the head hand signal. And again, these people, even though they're waiting for the bus, this is all what is called crowding, right? They're all there with not only to get on the bus, but their original intention is to participate in the gang stalking in the street there against me. Okay? Okay? So now you see this guy shows up, folding his lips. Then sanitation worker shows up. Another lady walked by, again folding her lips. All right, that's because they want me to be quiet. Now we go back to the ticket agent, and look what she's doing. She's making her finger like a gun and sticking it up her butt. Okay, this is what she's doing. Right? You guys see that, right? Yeah, the sirens going off, but they got busted. So they don't like it when I bust them. Then they start making a whole bunch of noise. Okay, so this is what they're doing, right? She's sticking her finger up her butt. Okay, like make the gun sign, right? Again, they're trying to send me some subliminal message about them shooting me. Okay, and now this woman here. Let's go back slightly, because again, this is all part of their game. Okay, and you'll see this woman. Let me see if I can pause it directly. you see her hand come down because she was covering her mouth. Okay. Again, as I turn, you know, this woman over here now, she starts playing with her ears. Okay, this is all based off of them looking away as I am panning, to get video of the targeting. Okay, so you see her again as I pan. She's covering her mouth. I can pause it exactly. Yeah, she takes her hands off her mouth, turns around, still look at me, and then walks off. Okay. Now she's going to look at the sanitation car. He's going to come out of the vehicle. You're going to walk over there. So now you see the palm fixation drill. Okay. And you see how she's taking her thumb and pressing it on her index finger, her pointing finger. Okay. Also, see the guy in the wheelchair. Recently, when I've been getting on the bus, there've been a lot of people in wheelchairs getting on the bus. Okay. And then you'll see it again. I guess it's all masking techniques because it is to, again, put me in this fixation drill with the palm of their hands. So now people, when they start communicating, they will use their hands more and they will constantly show me their palm of their hand. You see the woman here now? You see how she's positioned herself? You see how she positions her arm, where if I'm looking at her, guess what? I'm looking at the palm of her hand also. Okay? So now you'll I think around this time you'll see the sanitation worker. He's going to soon come. Okay. Okay. So now these two working in tandem. The old guy in the cane, and you'll see the Asian guy with the glasses on. You see they both folding their mouth, their lips. Okay. Great. All right. So now the sanitation guy is going to show up. Okay. And again, you see these two old ladies. See the one in the blue. And I don't want to trigger anybody. See, she did this where she acts as if she's wiping the side of her face, but the palm of her hand is facing towards me. Let me go back and show you guys. Okay, so she waves like that. Now, you see that? I'm just gonna pause it right there. Okay. Now the reason why she's doing it, because you see this young lady right here, again, this is all planned, orchestrated. This young lady right here, she's going to be the next person to start participating in my targeting. Okay, and see, now that she's walk off, now this one is going to walk off, but you see where she's looking at her, because again, now they want my attention to be on her, which it was. Okay, so you see, now she looks back at the old lady and she's doing this. Okay, meanwhile, you see her thumb is pressed against her pointing finger, her index finger. Okay, okay, now she's looks at me and she's doing this. Okay, and so now you see this guy here with his phone in his hand, his thumb sticking out. This is one of the hand signals that they'll do also, the thumb. And I talked about how, in the past, people would just keep sticking their thumb out at me for no reason. Well, it's all coming into play here. Again, there's the hand behind the back signal. Okay. So now he opened up the garbage. And you'll see the what he's gonna do. Okay. Okay, now you see the other ticket agent? See her touching her nose? The one here, the shorter one. Again, she does where she takes her finger and does this. So now he opens up the garbage. Okay. Now, why is he just all of a sudden come over to open up one of the garbage? It's been there. But again, this is all street theater. This is all planned. This is what they do. And you'll see that he didn't take anything out of the garbage. Okay, he just opened it up, tied it back again, and now the lady in the orange and white outfit comes, she stands up in front of me. Well, not in front of me, but stands right there. Now you see again the student, the young student again pinches her nose as she's walking by. Okay, this one here, she's gonna do the forefinger and then the thumb sticking out. There you go again, another forefinger. And you can tell that they know what they're doing because you see how some of them they're staring directly up in my face. Okay, and now you have another gas cock is going to appear. Now he has his hands behind his head. Okay. And you see as he does that, the guy follows in the red. Plus, the ticket agent here starts doing the fixation drill again with the palm of her hands. I'm going to go back slightly because I want you to see how she pushed her hands down, kicks it back like that, right there. Okay. And now here's your gang stalker. See the hand signal that he did? That's the white power sign. Okay. Watch it. He comes back right there, and then he sticks his thumb out as he's finished engaging in that signal right there, and then you'll see him now stick his finger out. Okay, stick his thumb out, actually. All right. Okay, so now you see the guy in the red and white shirt. Again, this is all orchestrated. The woman, all of a sudden, she takes something out of her bag to fix it, put it back in. Then he walks, and you can see he is grabbing his thumb. All right. Okay, because now he needs to come and stand up next to me. And guess who shows up? Another lady, older lady, again doing this. Mhm. Now we talk about the invasion of your personal space. Watch how close she comes and stand next to me, like almost directly in front of me. Okay, okay. Now he walks back over. There she go again, staring at me in my face. Because again, this is what they do. It is called the staring campaign. So they'll literally stand there staring at me in my face. Okay. And now, again, the use of the cell phone. Okay. All right. So, just to let you guys understand what's going on. So, you saw the guy in the wheelchair. He got on the bus. I got off that bus, got onto another bus, and this is right after I took that bus. Got onto another bus where you'll see again uh, um, another person in a wheelchair. Okay, got on the bus before us, and so I had to again. I just did a quick uh, recording because it was kind of crowded, and so as he went into the bus, and then I got a chance to go into the bus. I just did a quick recording just to show you guys the series of pattern and what this um, it is that they're trying to do. Because again, in a coercive persuasion program, what they try to do is basically take away your whatever financial resource you have, right? So whether it be a job, they get you fired from your job. If you're on disability, they're constantly sending you, uh, subliminal message about you losing your disability, or they have not disabled you, right? That's their, you know, you know what I'm saying? As long as they can see you somewhat walking, never mind my documentation of, uh, my brain matter being damaged, my white matter within the brain being damaged, the fluid in which which the brain sits, uh, which keeps the brain level, has, you know, um, drain, not drain, but it basically evaporate because of the microwaving, right? The damage to my spinal cord, right, to my back. That's why I use a cane. That's why I have issues with my back, with my pinched nerve because of my herniated disc, right? So I guess they figure, well, hey, the only how I can be disabled, uh, be disabled is if I'm in a wheelchair or something like that. But we all know that there are many people don't use wheelchair walking around that have a disability. Okay, STIs are disabilities, is either psychological or physical or both. Okay, and we don't have to be in a wheelchair to be considered disabled. So understand this if you're a targeted individual. So when they try to run this crap to try to, if you're on disability, try to take away your disability, is bullshit. Okay, because they know exactly how it is that they've disabled us. Okay, when we go outside and we're constantly harassed, there are rumors being spread about us. Okay, we're not able to find a job, right? We're not able to interact with people as you would normally do. Okay, you're not able to have a relationship because you're being microwaved and they're using the people that you're in a relationship with, whether intimate or friendship, to target you, right? Yet they want to claim that you're not disabled, that they haven't disabled you, okay? Which is all nonsense and bull, right? So again, this is all intimidation tactics, right? To try to intimidate you. And as I said before, whether when they, if they believe that you fight, well, if you fight them back, is basically that is their failure to make you adapt to their attitude or their belief, right? And that in turn they will send subliminal messages about being physically hurt, right, or being again labeled with a mental illness, right? They will reactivate a prior illness. They will try to get you hooked on drugs. Again, the economic collapse, the social failure, divorce, disintegration in your relationships, right? And the failure to find a mate. Okay, so for example, when me and Pam broke up, when I took the train, I was going downtown Brooklyn. I took the train. They had this young woman. She had an afro. Um, she got on the train, and I got on the train, sat down. The people came on the train. They sat down, and they were looking at her, right? So this one girl sat right across from me. She kept doing this with her eyes. Okay, she kept. Let me okay, I'm on. So she kept doing this. She kept she kept looking at me and then going like this, like looking at the young woman, right, that was sitting a little bit down across from me. And that young woman with the afro, when I didn't turn my head to look, I just moved my eyes over because I had my shades on, and she was staring directly at me. And like I always said, the people when you even before you were in this program, the women or the men that you met that you become intimate with and involved with, they have been sent, right? They're what you call honey traps, right? So they have been sent. Okay, for whatever the reason, whatever somehow they consider you a threat and you need to be watched. And so they will try to honey trap you. A lot of times they're successful at it because you have no idea of what's going on. Okay, and so this is the sort of things uh, that is being done. Okay, so that's it for the video. Sorry it took this long. I was trying to make it short, but there's a lot to cover. Okay, I'll see you guys in the next video.